I believe that FSU will have to, at some point, consider very seriously leaving the ACC unless there were a radical change to the revenue distribution.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan.
That was the voice of Rick McCullough, Florida State president. Yikes. That's what the feeling was yesterday. By the way, this is The Drive with Tim Donnelly here on 99.9 The Fan. I'm Tim Donnelly. You'll hear from Dennis Cox as well. Yesterday, when you hear a president say that, the president of a university that has a brand is a part of the conference that you care about, yikes, right? I mean, sometimes it can be that simple. But the more I think about it, the more I think we need to talk to Rick, right? We need to talk to Florida State because I don't think they're getting the full situation. I think they aren't letting themselves believe that money ain't the problem. Florida State has all these big demands. We need money. We need a different revenue split. We need money. We need to keep up with these big money. And I'm going, money ain't the problem. Florida State doesn't want to admit that the money they have, they aren't spending well. They don't want to admit that they aren't running a good program, and money doesn't fix that. Now, it's like anything else. You can keep throwing money at a problem. If you don't know how to fix it, you're wasting money. Let me ask you this, okay? It is a very, very basic, logical series of questions or series of statements that ends in a question. Mm-hmm. We learned yesterday that Florida State, their board of trustees, their president, they are either under the impression they've given kind of two options. They're going to get more money from the ACC or they're going to leave the ACC. That's what they said. Because they need to compete with other conferences that are giving their teams more money, their athletic programs more money. So basically they're saying if you have more money, you should be able to dominate teams with less money, right? They can't compete with the fat stack teams because they don't have a fat stack of cash.
Theoretically.
That's just the gist. And then, according to Luke DeCock of the News and Observer, Florida State has the largest athletic budget of any public school in the ACC. So if they need money to compete with the teams that have more money, the logic would say that you should win if you have the most money. They have the most money in the ACC. The question I present is, why aren't they winning the ACC every year? Right? If you can't compete with Florida, or you can't compete with Georgia, or you can't compete with these other teams because they have more cash, then why is Wake Forest able to compete with you? Because you have significantly more cash. Mm-hmm. And you've lost to Wake Forest the last 3 times you've played them. Over the last 6 years, Wake Forest has 10 more wins than you do as a program. Where's this adding up? And for reference, Wake Forest is the smallest Power 5 school.
Yeah.
Florida State doesn't want to admit that they aren't very good at putting together good football teams anymore. So instead, they're crying about the budget. It's the same, and this is the analogy I've settled on. It's the same as a golfer who is in a match play. You're playing one-on-one against a better golfer than you, right? I'll even use myself as an example. I'm not a great golfer. Some might say bad. If I'm playing against a good golfer, and then instead of just saying, oh, they're better than me, or they're playing better than me, or they're making better shots than me, I say, well, I can't compete with you. You have nicer clubs than me. And then you need somebody who cares about you to look you in the face and say, no, they're just better than you. Don't go spend all the money on nicer clubs. Don't go get fitted professionally. Don't go buy the latest training devices. They're just better than you, right? Work on your game. Florida State's saying, oh, we need more money. I'm going, no. The other teams are just better than you. Work on your game. If money was the problem, you would only lose to teams that are more rich than you. Instead, you're losing pretty consistently to the Wake Forests and the NC States of the world, and they don't have your budget. Now, the interesting part is it doesn't just affect them, right?
No.
I can sit here and make fun of Florida State's success level all day.
Or lack of.
And that's a better way to put it. Their failure level. Which would be fun, and it would be interesting, and I think it tracks here. It's important here. But also what they say impacts the schools in this. It impacts everyone in the ACC and indirectly everyone in the entire country when it comes to college sports. So Bubba Cunningham, the North Carolina athletic director, was on Adam Gold's show right before this one and had this to say on Florida State wanting to leave the ACC.
If they want to leave, then that's going to be their choice. But there are certain obligations that they do have. We have an exit fee and we have a grant of rights.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the ACC is a great league. It's been a great league for a long time. Their frustration about the money, everyone would like to have more money and everyone would like to win more. But we're in an outstanding league, and if last I checked, the ACC won 9 national championships last year, more than any other league in the country. So we're doing something right. Now, I don't think you have to have the most money to win the most games. And I think we've demonstrated that over the years. Now, again, I do think that they have decisions that they need to make. It may or may not have an impact on us. But again, what we're trying to do at Carolina is make the ACC the best it can possibly be.
That's noble, right? When one school is trying to make the conference the best it can possibly be, that's noble. Florida State is not in that path.
No, they're not.
Florida State is not interested in making the ACC as good as it possibly can be. Florida State's in it to make Florida State as good as it possibly can be.
Their lack of winning also doesn't make ACC as good as it possibly can be.
Very true. Oh, you're supposed to be a prominent brand that everybody is. You're carrying them on your shoulders. It's like, well, then you have to be the one to go battle against the big schools, and being under 500 doesn't help. Bubba Cunningham continued on his reaction to what's going on in Florida State.
I think it's good for college athletics to have 4, 5, or even 6 conferences nationally. I think the consolidation is not good long term. I think that the number of opportunities that we can offer, we need to stay strong and have as many opportunities for kids to play and get an education. Those things haven't changed for me. Now,
Right.
What they want to do and how they want to go about doing their business, that is their business, but it does have an impact on us. And quite frankly, I don't think it's good for our league for them to be out there barking like that. And I'd rather see them, be a good member of the league and support the league. And if they have to make a decision, then so be it. Pay for the exit fee, wait for your grant of rights that you've given. And then when in 2036, when those rights return to you, do whatever you want.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Dennis. When somebody says out there barking like that,
Yep.
do you get a vibe that there's a little indication that they don't have a bite?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
100%.
Because the whole all bark, no bite, it's when they're out there barking like that, that tells me they're yapping, but they don't have – there's nothing they can do. And then to go right into the grant of rights talk, it's like you can bark. It's not good to be barking, right? But the bite would be you're going to have to pay a whole boatload of money, and then you can leave. I think Florida State's all bark, no bite at this point in time. And that's essentially what Bubba Cunningham just said, right? If you want to leave, leave. Here's the contract that we've all signed, and there is a way out. It's through millions and millions and millions of dollars paid from you to us, right? Make the check out to cash and be on your way.
Yeah, exactly.
Rick McCullough, Florida State president, on ACC revenue.
We are seeing large media deals that have been made with places like the Big Ten and the SEC, which in many ways are creating, maybe it's an exaggeration, but an existential crisis perhaps for Florida State University, as we will be $30 million per school per year behind in our gap in conference distribution. We, of course, are not satisfied with our current situation. We love the ACC. FSU helps to drive value and will drive value for any partner. We have spent a year trying to understand how we might fix the issue.
We're going to be talking about this throughout the day. That right there, complaining about the ACC revenue is, to me, missing the forest for the trees a bit. Because let's say, and I do think that the SEC and the Big Ten would be interested in Florida State if they were just free agents truly on the open market with no exit fee. I think Florida State has value and brand and all those sorts of things. If you go to the SEC, you'll get your share of their media rights, whatever that ends up being. You're still not going to be the richest, right? Mm-mm. Texas is still going to have more donors. Alabama is still going to have more success-driven revenue, right? Georgia is still going to have more success-driven revenue. There's still going to be Texas A&M is still going to have all the state of Texas boosters. You're still not going to be the richest team. You'll be richer than you are now, but you'll be in a neighborhood where you're the cheapest house on the block. In the ACC, you are the mansion on the cul-de-sac at the end of the block with all the land, and everybody else's house is cheaper than yours, and you're still not winning. So you want to go into a richer zip code with richer neighbors, and then you're going to start winning? You can't win when you're the big chip stack at the table. Not often enough.